There's nothing else left to say. Phil, it has all been said beautifully, eloquently, powerfully, articulately, with love and grace. And so I'm in a very awkward position. I have to say something that maybe hasn't been said. So let me begin by lowering your expectations and praying to God that I may speak your thoughts. To Phil Gerlicher, a brother from another mother. To Shirley Lou and the Lou dynasty. Let's give the Lou dynasty for her vision and her tenaciousness. To my BWA partners, my Black Wealth Alliance partners, of which several are in the audience right now, specifically to Shirley Johnson and Jennifer Jones, who have coached me and mentored me through this process and in this business. I love you. Let's not forget Prince and Gloria and William and Marlon. They're watching somewhere. And if not, they'll be watching the tape later. So I just want to make sure that I get them in. And most importantly, to our diverse family of Asians and Latinos and blacks and whites who are, in fact, changing the face of insurance. Give yourselves a round of applause. You are, in fact, changing the face of insurance. There were several people that came up on this stage that talked about leadership. Just for one moment, I want to define leadership for you from my perspective. I think to be a leader is to be awake and alert and to be dissatisfied at all times. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, brothers and sisters, I am not happy. But I am motivated by a positive anger directed towards positive change. What do we know about change? We know that you will never change that which you tolerate, and you will only change when you get angry. People will not change when they see the light. People will change when they feel the heat. Cultural minorities in this country are still at the bottom of the economic ladder in this country. We must fix this by helping them to understand the 4 cornerstones for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. We must make sure that they are literate. When they are literate, we know that literacy equals legacy. When they are literate, they will not only understand the products and services that you are providing them with love, but they will keep those products and services. You are leaders. You are leading a movement like none other in the insurance industry. You are changing the face of insurance. This is critically important. Behind every successful person is a group of people. Behind every unsuccessful person is a group of people. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, you go. Your net worth will be determined by your net work. Your net worth will be determined by your net work. If you're hanging out with 5 broke people, within a very short period of time, you're going to be the 6th broke person. Your relationships are everything. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in case no one has ever told you, you are in the business of building relationships. That's the business that we are all in. Building relationships and making new friends. Friends are critically important because it's God's way of apologizing for your relatives. You can pick your friends, but you cannot pick your relatives. Make many friends. It will serve you well. I have spent my life thinking about, writing about, speaking about the power and importance of the relationships in our lives, connecting the dots, if you will. I've written 6 best-selling books on that particular subject. My most recent on that particular subject is a book called Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. In my first book, Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking, I defined networking for my world to help them understand that the skills necessary to do the job and to do the business are not necessarily the skills to get the business or to get the job. I defined networking as the identification and the building of relationships for the purpose of sharing information, opportunities, and resources. And the emphasis on that definition is on the building of relationships and sharing. Why? Because all of life is about relationships. All of life is about working with and through other people. There is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own, by yourself, in a vacuum. Business is about relationships. I deeply believe that the most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be your computer. I don't care what people have said. It will be your relationships. Why? Because all entrepreneurship, all job searches, all upward mobility in the public and private sector workplace, all organization building, all community building, all nation building are inherently networking initiatives. It is your ability to shape the scope of your search for human resources and bring them to bear on your challenges and opportunities in life is what will ultimately determine your level of excellence or success in life. It is all about relationships. There's an old saying that most of us have heard. It's not what you know, but it's who you know. And that's just half of the saying. People don't know the other half of the saying. No, it's not what you know and who you know. It's who knows you and what is it that they know about you. Now, you could know 300 really important people, but if they all think you're a jerk, you got real problems. Relationships, relationships, relationships. We cannot talk about this enough. When we look at the stool of life, there are 3 legs on the stool of life. We know that education is one of the legs on the stool of life. Education is profoundly important, but it's not enough. The ability to build relationships using emotional intelligence, the ability to manage your emotions, your 5 most important emotions, and use the management of those emotions to cultivate and nurture and to build relationships at work, at home, and in the community is critical. In fact, as you grow older and wiser, you are going to discover that your EQ, your emotional intelligence, will be far more important than your IQ. We'll put a pin in that, and I'll pick up on that in a few minutes. The second leg on the stool of life is marketable skills. Oh, I know you're smart, and I know you may have several degrees, but what can you do? The marketplace will determine your value based on your marketable skills. If you're only earning $10 an hour, you're only worth $10 an hour in the marketplace. So what skill are you building on top of your knowledge and on top of your education? That will determine your worth in the marketplace. That's the second leg on the school of life, building marketable skills once you get a formal education. And the third and final leg on the stool of life is relationships. Now, let me simply define for you what a relationship is, so no one gets confused. A relationship is someone that comes into your life and they do one of 4 things. They either add, subtract, divide, or multiply. Why would you want to be hanging out with people who are subtracting from your life, you're subtracting from their life, and through this subtraction comes division? That's a waste of time. Why would you not want to be hanging out with a group of people where you're adding to their life, they're adding to your life, and through this addition comes multiplication? So what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you something that I've learned in my 72 years of living. Be careful who your friends are. Be careful who your friends are. Proverbs 27:17 in the Christian Bible tells us that as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. Be careful who your friends are. Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. Now, for those of you that are raising children, let me just say this and still be loved. I hope you're spending as much time raising the friends of your children as you are spending raising your child. Why? Because the pressure on your child from their so-called friends will be far greater than any pressure you will ever be able to put on your child. Be careful who your friend's child or your child's friends are. Now, I'm going to conclude this little piece and get into really what I'm here to talk about, and that are the mistakes that we make when networking. So here is a very, very important piece of business advice. If you forget everything I say to you this morning, I want you to remember this piece of business advice. Live by this piece of business advice. Most business decisions are made at an emotional level, and then they're justified by facts. That people do business with people that they know, that they respect, but most importantly, that they like. You see, I don't care what it is that you do, there are at least 10 people that can do what you do. And the reason I choose to do business with you versus the other 10 choices I have, and this is America and I have choices, is because I know you, I respect you, but most importantly, I like you. When is the last time you did a piece of serious business with somebody you hated? Not in America. You have too many options and too many choices. What is the point? Be nice to people. Smile. Laugh. Hug somebody each and every day. Stop always looking for the bad in people and look for the good in people. Remember that people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. How do you make people feel? Stop the destructive criticism that we heap on each other. Be careful of your words because they hurt people. Our mouths are the most violent weapon that we bring to the table of life. We hurt and maim and kill more people with our mouths and with our words than any other weapon in the history of war. To talk without thinking is to shoot without aiming. Think before you run your mouth. Think before you say what you think you have to say. According to African philosophy, man has, by the force of his word, dominion over all things. It was Jesus who said that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That choose your words and choose your phrases carefully, understanding that our very utterances create and continually adjust the emotional climate around you. Words are everything. My father taught me many years ago that the words you speak today are waiting for you tomorrow. Be nice to people. Be nice to people. Understand that the number one issue underlying all human problems, without exception, is a lack of self-esteem and the lack of self-confidence. Therefore, the number one responsibility that we have to each other is the nurturing and the building of each other's self-esteem and self-confidence. Let me say that differently. Do you understand that it's all about love? And that we cannot start it like a car and we can't stop it with a gun? That every single thing we do is so that somebody will love us? The clothes we wear, the successes that we achieve, the cars that we drive, is so that somebody will love us. We have an insatiable appetite to be loved. Phil, you could tell me 10 times today that you loved me. And tomorrow I would wallow in the wonderfulness of that, Phil, but tomorrow I would need to hear the same thing. And when you understand it's about love, and you treat your clients with love, and you understand that the purpose of life is very simple. Why? Because God doesn't make anything complicated. We tend to make things complicated. God doesn't make things complicated because he needs everyone to understand it. Why do we make things complicated? Oh, for a couple of reasons. First, so that we don't have to do it. So the more complicated we can make something, the more reasons we have for not doing it. It's been said endlessly up on this stage, keep it simple. That's right, keep it simple. The second reason we tend to make things complicated is to control power. So the more complicated I can make something, the more I understand it, but you don't really understand it, the more control I have over you. So let me uncomplicate for you the purpose of life. It is to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value every minute of every day. So today I will do my very best, and tomorrow I will do even better. That is the purpose of life. There is no other reason for you to be there. And so once you internalize that, you internalize something that I heard repeatedly on this stage. So many said, the reason I am doing this work is to make money and to be successful and to help people. That is the right ingredients, but it's the wrong equation. It's the wrong algorithm. It's actually different. So if the number one thing is to make money, and the number two thing is to be successful, and the number three thing is to help people, we have to reverse that. Because I believe that the number one thing is to help people. The number two thing is to help them be successful, thus you are successful. And the number three thing is to make money. So when you're helping people be successful, thus you are successful, you will make money. Let me say that differently. Chase excellence, never chase money. In fact, money has a very interesting way of finding excellence. So when we understand that the number one reason we do what we do, providing the cornerstone for the intergenerational transfer of wealth for culturally specific communities, that we are really serving people. We are really helping people, for not only for them to be successful now, but for their children's children to be successful. Proverbs 13:22 tells us what? That a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That's what we are really doing. At the end of the day, that's what we are really doing. So you're going to have to work on 3 networks throughout your entire life, through every passage of your life. We are typically given about 8 passages. Each passage is about 10 years. Let me say that differently. You're a different person at 10 years old than you were at 1. You're a different person at 20 than you were at 10. Let us pray. You are a different person at 30 than you were at 20. You're a different person at 40 than you were at 30. You're a different person at 50 than you were at 40. You're a different person at 60 than you were at 50. You're a different person at 70 than you were at 60. We are constantly evolving. Let us pray. So people come in and out of our lives. depending on the passage that they come into our life. So we're constantly working on cultivating, nurturing, and building three specific networks. First is what I call a personal network. These are your close circle of friends. These are the people that cheer you on, inspire you, and lift you up. Let's call that your network at home. And we're constantly working on that. The second network is what I call your operational network. These are the people that help you to get specific tasks done in life as they platoon in and out of your life. Whether it's the church or synagogue or mosque that you serve, or some volunteer initiative in this world that you're working on. These are the people that serve you, and you serve them, and you help them to get where you're going as they help you to get where you're going in that particular passage of life. There would be very few people in your life that have been a part of your life through all 8 or 9 passages of your life. That's your operational network. And the final network is your strategic network. These are the people that are smarter than you. These are the people that are where you want to be. These are the people that will drag you into the 21st century kicking, screaming, and crying. These are the people that can ultimately be your coaches and your mentors and your leaders, and very, very important part of your network. Because networking really, if you think about it deeply, simply looks like this. That someone is pulling you, and you must always be pulling someone. And the minute you break that connection in either direction, you have a hole in your net. And you know what happens when a fisherman gets a hole in his net? The fish get through too many holes, and the whole infrastructure of support breaks down. Be nice to people. Build your network at every stage in life. Now, I'm going to close with some mistakes that we make. I'm going to reduce it from the 10 biggest mistakes to the 7 biggest mistakes, and I'm going to begin with number 7 and lead up to number 1. The 7th biggest mistake we make. I've been at this for 40 years, and in 40 years I've distributed about 35,000 business cards. And people would come over to me all the time and say, Dr. Fraser, aren't you afraid of giving so many business cards out that people are going to call you and bug you and ask you for stuff? Nope. Nope. 72 years, here's what I've learned. That 99.9999% of every person I've ever given a business card never, ever, ever followed up. And they got a business card from America's networking guru, who has an inventory of resources and people that could probably help them, but they never followed up. Don't be one of those people. When you ask for a business card or given a business card, follow up. I cannot even begin to tell you what the simple act of following up has contributed and meant to my life over a 72-year period of time. It is a huge mistake. Now, by the way, that includes you. I had, over the last 2 years, Phil, I've gotten 74 business cards. Only one person followed up. One. Huge mistake. I follow up immediately. I return all my calls within 24 hours, if humanly possible, if I'm not someplace outside of the country. Follow up. So that's number 7. Number 6, we make a poor first impression. Most people make a poor first impression. There were 13 people that I asked for business cards over the last 3 days, for one reason or another. only 3 of them had business cards. Why would you come to a damn business meeting without a damn business card? What's up with that? What are you smoking? Where are you? Do you in fact even know where you are? Bring cards. And there's a little science to the distribution of cards. When you get a card, put it in a separate place from where you have your card. So for example, if you look at me, so I just got a business card, so that's in this pocket, the right pocket. And if you were to ask me for a business card, that's in this pocket. Now, why do I do that? It's just sort of a simple, stupid thing, right? Why do you do that? I got 3 business cards. One of the business cards I got was not from the person who I asked for the card. It was from some chick. He had written her cell phone number down on the back. Make sure that you give people your business card and don't mix it up with other cards that are given to you. One lady, I asked for a business card and she went into her purse. She must have had 25 business cards and it took her 3 minutes to discern her card from the other cards that she had. One person I asked for a business card, and he didn't have a business card, so he ran. He said, I'll be right back. He ran, and he gave me all of this information on a piece of toilet paper. Now, you know what I did with that, right? The same thing you do with toilet paper. Right? So it's a simple thing, but it helps to make a good impression when you are ready. The other thing that contributes to a poor impression is a poor introduction. People really don't want to know your entire life. We just don't have enough time. We're only here for 3 days. I know your life story. We're making a movie out of it. But I've got about 15 seconds to hear your life story. So you should craft an introduction that's somewhere between 15 and 17 seconds long. It's called an elevator pitch. You've heard it before. There are 5 elements of a great elevator pitch, a perfect introduction. Who you are, where you're from, what you do. Who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Now, if you can't answer those 3 questions, you probably need to leave this conference. So those are the first 3 things. The last 2 things are the most important. How do you add value and then prove it to me? Quantify it. How do you add real value? Who you are, where you're from, what you do. How do you add real value? Because people are dialed into one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's all they're listening for. They're not really listening for anything else other than something that might be of interest that I could, in fact, utilize. So let me give you my introduction. I've crafted this introduction over a number of years. It's very simple. Hi, my name is Dr. George Fraser. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO and founder of FraserNet Incorporated. I write books on networking and economic development and building relationships. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. And over the last 40 years, I've helped over 5,000 people find just the right opportunity and over $600 million in new business. Good to meet you. That's it. By the way, that's 72 words, 17 seconds. I just told you my life. Who I am, what I do, where I'm from. How do I add real value? I help friends, I help people turn acquaintances into friends, contacts into contracts, and then I proved it to you. I quantified it. So all of you can take some time relative to this business and our vision and our mission and craft a simple 60 or 70 word introduction that will pique the interest of the person that you're talking about. You see, that's the purpose of an introduction, is to pique their interest, so that they will want to know more about you later. That's all you want to do. Work on your introduction. And finally, on this whole notion of poor first impression is your facial expressions. Now, this is a tough one. Most of you really have no idea what you really look like in a totally relaxed state. Most people have a natural scowl. There is no organic or natural smile on your face. And when you have a scowl, for example, I do. I have a natural scowl. Do yourself a favor. Look in the mirror tomorrow morning when you just wake up and just look at yourself. So I've done this many times. Let me show you what my face looks like in the morning. Now, that's my natural, organic, muscular movement of my face. There are 10,000 muscles in your face. And so that would scare the hell out of most people if I was trying to be open and friendly. And so I've had to practice over years that once I leave my door, that I begin to shape my face so that the public will not be scared of me. That would be most of you. Work on your facial expression. I wrote something down here. I want to read it to you. I wrote it to myself. I was sitting there, and I put a little note to myself. This is key. Why not wear a smile? It's just about the only thing that you have that is not taxed, right? Smiles improve your what? Face value, right? Smile. It's the second best thing you can do with your lips, right? And all people smile in the same language. It's a universal way of communicating with anyone, regardless of the language that you speak. Smile. Put a permanent smile on your face, and when you go home, you can spend the rest of your time scowling or just being sort of natural face. All right, so poor first impression. That's number 6. I covered the 5th biggest mistake that we make, and that is we do not spend enough time cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships. Now, this is an exceptional audience because our time, we're taught, and it's impressed upon us, and it's been said by everybody from Corey Vu to all the Davids, and everybody has said the same thing, is to cultivate relationships and meet people and spend more time networking. Well, they're absolutely right. You should be spending, well, let me give you a Harvard study. A Harvard study says that effective people spend about 14% of their time, working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. But successful people who are at the top rungs of every ladder, spend 54% of their time working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships. I spend more than 60% of my time cultivating and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. How much time are you spending? It should be at least 54%. Work on your personal network, work on your operational network, and work on your strategic network. All of them will serve you well in this business. Number 4, systems. There's a system for everything. everything you do, there is a system. I tell young people when I speak in high schools, if you're getting C's and D's, that's because you're hanging out with people who are getting C's and D's. There's a system for getting a C and a D. So if you want to get A's, you have to hang out with people who are getting A's and follow their system. That's a different system than getting a C. If you want to earn $100,000 a year, but you're only earning 40, then you have to hang out with people who are earning $100,000 a year and follow their system. There's a system for everything. There is a system that I use, and I have to think about this because it has been so habitualized. When someone asked me several years ago, Dr. Fraser, what is your system for building one of America's broadest and most productive networks? I had to think about that because it would be like asking you, how do you ride a bike? Well, you would have to think about how you ride a bike because now you just get on a bike and you just go. You don't really think about the things that you do that enable you to ride a bicycle. So, here's what I do every single day, 365 days a year, and have been doing these things for 40 years. And it is the cumulative effect that has impacted my ability not only to write about this subject, but to activate the networks that I have cultivated over a very long period of time. Here's what I do every single day. Every single day, I write 5 notes a day to people in my network. Now, this is easier now than ever before. I used to have to do them by pen, and a few of them I still do. But with email, you pick 5 people in your network and you write them a note. Hey, how you doing? Was thinking about you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every single day, at least 5 people. Now, in my case, I probably write 20 or 30 notes a day, but a minimum of 5 a day. The second thing I do every single day is I make 5 phone calls a day to old friends and family members. Now, I have to manage this because you could spend an awesome amount of time talking to old friends and family members. So if you are an old friend or a family member of mine and you get a call from me, you're probably going to hear me frame the call this way. Hi, Shirley. I was just thinking about you. I'm about to get on an airplane. I'm going to Cuba. I've got about 5 minutes, and I was thinking about you, and I wanted to see how you were doing. So I managed the call, because if you don't manage calls with old friends and family, you could spend several hours a day just talking old times. So manage the time. The third thing I do every single day is I make 5 personal contacts with new friends every single day. So this is a part of this whole rigor of getting new business cards and then following up and calling them and making sure that, they hear from me and et cetera. The fourth thing that I do every single day is I make 5 sales calls every single day, but I'm not selling anything. I'm just seeing how my clients are doing, because the last thing you want from your customers or your client really, is for them to hear from you only when you're trying to sell them something, as opposed to articulating a concern and an interest in their life. And the fifth thing I do every day is and this is very powerful and very important and very productive. I make 5 introductions of people who need to know other people. Right? 5 introductions to people who need to know each other. So you have to think about that. Who are those people and who do they need to know? Finally, I spend about 30 minutes every single day in social media, posting on Facebook. A lot of you follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I tweet. just saying inspiring things. So let me say this and still be loved. I don't believe that you can motivate anybody. I think the reason you get up in the morning is your motivation. But I think we all need inspiration every single day. Even the best of us need to be inspired, need to hear something positive, need to be cheered on and lifted up. I don't call that motivation. You get up in the morning, you're motivated. I call that inspiration. So these are disciplines. These are habits. And then you have to be careful how you spend your time. Where are you going? Are those meetings purposeful? Every week I go to at least one business development network where I can meet people from a particular profession, right? Every week. So I go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, I go to service club meetings, and be careful how you spend your time. There's all kinds of places that you can go, but be very, very specific about where you're going and why you're there and who is there. Finally, because I'm running out of time, in fact, how much time do I have? Let me just, okay. I am not running out of time. Good. This is the third biggest mistake that so many of us make. You bring nothing to the table. Let me say that differently. God will ensure that each of you will have a seat at the table of life. You'll be invited to dine at the table of life. There will be no exceptions to that rule. But if the only thing you do when you come to the table of life is eat, and you don't bring anything to the table, you will not be invited back. And it'll go down very quietly, without your knowledge. Two people will be talking about an opportunity, they will bring up your name, and one person will say, no, I don't think they bring anything to the table. And you'll just notice over time that you're not invited. And that's because you don't bring anything to the table. So are you engaged in lifelong learning, personal growth and development, constant, never-ending improvement? Are you engaged in that? Are you learning new things and new stuff every single day? What is your subject matter expertise that you know better than any of your friends? That you would be considered the expert on that subject, and when people think about that subject, they think about you. And do people know this? Are you amazing at what you do, as opposed to being average? Now, a couple of these things I've talked about before. Are you amazing? That the 21st century for us must be about amazingness. Because when you are amazing at what you do, you will never have to worry about competition. You'll never have to get in anybody's line. People will get in line for you. It is when you're average to mediocre at whatever it is you decide to do in life, you will have to seriously worry about competition. Why? Because most of America is about average. So therefore, that's what all the competition is. If you want to separate yourself, and you've seen those who have separated themselves from the masses up on this stage, excellence and amazingness has to be your goal. Do you read? What is your education to entertainment ratio? Here's what we know about European Americans. European Americans, for every $1 they spend on entertainment, they spend $10 on education. Here's what we know about certain culturally specific communities, and that is for every $10 we spend on entertainment, we spend $1 on education. Do you have more books in your house than you have DVDs and video games? Then you're probably on the right track. This is a business that requires knowledge. It's not it's not complex business. It's not nuclear physics. It's stuff that we can learn, but we have to study, and it's changing, and there are lots of options. And so investing some time each and every day studying this business and all of its machinations and all of its options will separate you from the masses. Bring something to the table, and you will be invited back to the table over and over and over again. It will be impossible for you to fail. Finally, the biggest mistake that people make when networking is they network to get something. Wrong. You network to give. And as you give, you get. If you ain't giving, you ain't getting. If you have nothing in life, it's because you've given nothing in life. That you cannot take, yes, this is the hard truth. You cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the bank that which you have not put into the bank. And you don't believe me? Go down to the bank and try to take something out of the bank that you have not put in. Let's see what happens to you. Well, this is a metaphor for life. You're networking the wrong way. You network to give, and as you give, you get. This is biblical. I didn't make this up. It's in every religious text in some form, regardless of your spiritual or religious influence. Are you giving? Are you serving? Are you loving? Are you adding the highest value every minute of every day? One little piece of advice. The best way to bond with people, if you want to really bond with someone, know their story. We all have a story. What is their story? You want an icebreaker? Tell a short story. Here's a good one by Hemingway. Hemingway, the great Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist, had a very close friend, and he challenged his friend who could write the best story using the fewest words, because he believed that everybody had a story. So they worked on their story, and Hemingway won. And Hemingway's story was very simple. Baby shoes, for sale, never used. 6 words, a complete story. It makes you think. If you could write your story in 6 to 9 words, this is my assignment for you on your way back home, what would your story be? I could tell my story in 9 words. You've heard this before. My story is, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. What's your story? What's the story of your customer? You want to bond with your customer? Challenge them to tell you their story in 6 to 9 words. Everybody has a story. Everybody. A couple of tips if you want to be an effective networker. Someone suggested this from the stage, and I applauded him quietly in my seat over there. You will never find me without a piece of paper in my pocket. I always have a blank piece of paper. Why? Someone said it, to take notes. I learn everywhere. And when Phil says something brilliant, or Shirley Lou, or Shirley Johnson, or Corey Vu, or I write it down. Keep a piece of paper with you. Write it down. You notice I did not have any slides. Why? I wanted you to write it down. Why? When you write something down, it connects with your subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind automatically begins to process it and looks for either the answers to whatever you wrote down, or it embeds it into your subconscious mind for utilization in your own way at another time. Write it down. Also, when you call me, 99.9% of the time, I will end my call very simply. First, you will hang up first. I will never hang up on you. I will wait until you hang up. Just common courtesy. I don't like clicks in my ear. So I wait. Okay? The second thing is I end with 3 words, most of my conversations. I appreciate you. Simply what I say, I appreciate you. Now, if I don't appreciate you, and there are a few of those calls, I won't say that. I will not BS someone. But most of the calls, we exchange information, we talk, and I do appreciate what I learned from that conversation. So I end with I appreciate you. I don't end with goodbye. That to me seems a little final. Generally speaking, it is I appreciate you. Again, it's another small way to bond with people. And they remember that. And I've done it for so long to so many people. Of course, many of those people I have heard from in other communications, and guess what they're doing? They are ending their conversation, I appreciate you. So it's about love. It is all about love. Now, I wanted to save a little bit of time. We've got about 6 minutes. We're going to do what I normally do. We're going to close with a prayer. But I wanted to save a little bit of time to answer any question you may have about what I said or didn't say. So if someone is brave enough to stand up and ask a question, that will then, I'll use that as a segue to one final thought. Does anybody want to ask anything about, yes, sir?
What would be the most influential book that you have read? Because you are such a wealth of knowledge of God.
Now, I did not pay him. I did not pay him to ask that question. But I happen to have that book with me. Fabulous segue. Thank you very much. Not only is that the perfect segue, but I would recommend for those in the audience, and I only have a few copies with me, I'll be honest with you. I was really just kidding. I would recommend, if you have not gotten this book, I know I was making it available to a few people last year, and a few of you got them, whatever I had, this book, Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. And in this book, which actually I wrote, McGraw-Hill published it, I wrote it about 7 years ago. It is a modern day classic, it's over 1 million copies have sold. I posed an algorithm. And I said, essentially, that you do not click with everybody you network with. Things don't automatically happen in a powerful and positive way with everybody that you network with. But there are certain people that come in and out of your life that for some reason you click with them. And those are the people that are generally, you're part of their team, they're part of your team, you do things together, you click with them. And the question becomes, what is it, what are the elements of clicking with a person? And after years of study, it is my notion that there are 3 things that have to be in perfect alignment in order to click with someone else: chemistry, fit, and timing. When chemistry, fit, and timing are in perfect alignment, that's when you click. Chemistry, energy, spirit. Do you feel the person? Fit. Do you share a common vision? Do you want the same things? Are you headed in the same direction? Timing. Is it the right time? I can't tell you before I got married how many beautiful women I met. Most of them were married. Bad timing. Great fit, awesome chemistry, Phil. Timing, way off. So, I want you to write this down. I'm going to give you the equation. It's a simple little equation that will help you remember how to create what I call the win-win-win. When you click with someone, you actually create the win-win-win. You win, they win, and the people we both serve win. That's really the business we're in. Creating the win-win-win. But you must win first. When you win, I win. And then when you and I win, the people that we serve in our lives wins. Let me say that differently. Help me help you help me. You get that? So I'm engaged because when you build relationships, you don't sell, you engage people. I engage you so that I can understand you, so that I can serve you, and in serving you, that helps me. Help me, help you, help me. That's an attitude. That's an approach to life. When you approach everything in life, your significant other, your friends, when you approach things in life like that, it's impossible to fail. Equation, write this down. C square. You write a C with a little 2. C square. C stands for what? Chemistry. Now, in an equation, when you square something, you increase the power of that factor in the equation. So that says that chemistry is very important. Times, put a times next to the C square. When you have a times instead of a plus or a minus, it means that all factors must be present to reach the end result. So times F as in Frank, or fit, times the square root of t. You know how to do a square root, right? And then put t in it. That's timing. C squared times F times the square root of t, which is timing, equals W3. 3 to the third power. Win, win, win. C squared times F times the square root of T, timing, equals W3. Win, win, win. You win, I win, we all win. That's the only kind of win that is acceptable, when we all win. If I win but you don't win, there is no win. If you win and I don't win and the people we serve don't win, there is no win. We're always working on the win, win, win. I want you to take the hand of the person on the left and the person on the right, and we're going to close with a short prayer. It is non-denominational. It is the prayer that we close our conference with every year. They are words that we must remember as human beings. Why don't you stand? Yes, because when we say a prayer, we typically stand and we hold hands. You ready? May we always remember those who have gone before us. May we be inspired by their vision and their valor. May their lives continually remind us that service is more important than success, that people are more important than possessions, that principle is more important than power. May whatever we do be shaped and molded by honesty, excellence, and commitment. May our children and our children's children carry forth with pride the nobility of the histories that are represented here and the various traditions that are represented in this room. To the Creator of all of us, by whatever name we may refer to that Creator, we dedicate our lives to make this world better and more beautiful. Thank you very much.